Hello again, everyone. I'm Mark Walmsley. I'm the founder of the Arts and Culture Network. We're a fiercely independent, growing global community of over 185,000 creatives all over the world. I don't get to meet everyone, as you can imagine, but when I do, it's a pleasure. And Teddy Flanagan has joined me today. Teddy is one of our new members, and so we're entirely member funded as a community. So that's very much appreciated. Teddy, thank you so much for dropping in today.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's my pleasure. We're going to have some fun today. I'm going to create your fantasy cultural year from the answers to some easy questions to which there are no wrong answers. That's the kind of interview everybody seems to like. It'll pull
hmm
out surprises, anecdotes, and conversational detours, most likely. But before we do that, perhaps you'd like to say hi to everyone. Tell us who you are, where you're based, and the kind of work you're doing. And while you're doing that, I'm going to pull up your new website so we can all have a look. All
Okay,
yours.
thank you. Hi everyone. I'm Teddy Flanagan. I'm based currently at university at Loughborough, but I live in Oxfordshire, so between those two places. I'm a very diverse artist in terms of my practice. Because I'm only just turned 19, I'm still obviously first year uni. I haven't really had the chance to specialize yet. Most of my more popular work has been based on my synesthesia, where I paint people, places, things, sounds, music as I see them in my head in terms of shapes and color. But I also have been spending a lot of my first year at university doing photography and video work based on identity and sense of self and those kind of things. So yeah.
That sounds great. Well, let's dive in and you can give us the narrative. I'm going to share your new website. There we go. Everyone can see this now. So this is at flanagan'sart.squarespace.com if you'd like to catch more work from Teddy. Let's have a browse through. I love that photo. That's such a smiley photo. So there's lots to look at and explore here. Synesthesia, monoprints, lino cut, life
Mhm.
drawings. You do like a naked body. I've spotted that.
I do like the
Africa
form, yeah.
and the photography and digital images. So,
hmm
and you also do commissions, which is fantastic. And there's a nice
hmm
way to stay in touch here.
Yeah.
So let's jump into the synesthesia because that's been fascinating me. And I'm going to put one on my wall behind me. And so tell us a little bit about how this comes about.
So these black and white ones are slightly different. I took out the whole color aspect with these ones. These were actually just responses to images that I found of nature. I say found, took of nature. Um, and I kept them totally black and white, but I was really practicing and kind of experimenting with a really loose, brushstroke style. But the more popular synesthesia stuff, yeah, if you keep scrolling down, are
Mm,
these blue and turquoise ones were all part of a really, really large, significant project that I did, which was painting Noah Kahan's music, who's my favorite artist.
hmm.
So each of these canvases, there are loads more below on the website, are all different albums of his. So that's what the titles are. And then there was they do all sort of fit together as well. It was too big. It ended up being about 10 feet wide and 8 feet high if I put them all together. So I couldn't really get them all very well in a photo. Um,
Wow.
but, and then, yeah, the rest of these, as you keep going, these were all people that I was painting. So the three pink ones were myself. And then these were all the ones, yeah, the next ones after that were all my friends.
Mm.
And that was my first ever pretty much professional exhibition where I put all of these paintings in there, and I think I put 11 up and I sold 10.
That's
Um,
incredible.
yeah,
Congratulations.
and
When
I
we
was the only
last,
student. Sorry.
that's incredible. I know you were the only student to sell most of your work at the
Yeah,
show. It's a lovely tribute to much loved people, isn't it?
yeah,
I love the
yeah.
idea of an abstract portrait that's born out of your sense of that person and the values and things they have. So it's a very clever thing to do because it's a talking point.
Yeah.
One of the things that you and I spoke about last time, I think, was the picture hook. What is it about your
hmm
work that I will never forget? Okay.
Yeah.
And that's that you're bringing to life in abstract art what your sense of a real person. And I think that's fantastic. And I imagine that some people might have got quite emotional when they realized how you saw them in your talent.
Yeah, well, yeah, a lot of people did really love it. It was certainly a because I'd really never done it before at all, and didn't even kind of realize that I had synesthesia. I only really have a mild form of it, but I only really realized that I had it probably about a month or two before I started this project. When I was essentially invited to do this exhibition, and I said, this was while I was still at school, and I said to my head of department who'd invited me to the exhibition, but I don't have any work to put in it because I couldn't put my A level stuff in because the A level wasn't over. And she said, well, you can make some. And that was kind of when I realized that this was a possibility for me. So I started, and then I literally just couldn't stop. I couldn't keep myself out of the department because I was having so much fun making these.
It is fantastic.
And
I
yeah.
I think again, you and I think discussed briefly the last time we spoke. I think I have a certain form of synesthesia in that when I hear music, I can see the dancing.
Yeah.
It's like I've got a choreographer in my head. It's great.
Yeah.
Well, I think these are all wonderful, and it's so clever of you to pick that theme and that idea because the vast majority of artists who I speak to don't have that picture hook. They don't have that
Hmm.
thing that people look. I should probably ask you to do me and put it on the wall behind me.
Yeah, I'd love to do that.
That would be great fun to see how it looks. Well, that's perfect because you've given me the most incredibly good idea for your fantasy cultural year. So we'll do with that. But so to do this, I'll thank. By the way, I'll make sure your work is in the profile and links to your website when we publish that. So that's great. Now
Amazing, thank you.
I'm going to create your fantasy cultural year, and I have a time
Mhm.
machine and a magic wand at my disposal for this.
Okay.
Now to start, I need to place you somewhere in the world. And I
Hmm.
think I might have given you a hint of this, but I should point out to everyone else that you have no idea what else is coming. Um, I'd like to ask you, what's your favorite building?
Hmm. Um, I think I'd honestly probably have to say the building, it's called the Yarrow Gallery, at Oundle School, which is where I had that first exhibition. It's not a big building, it's not especially complicated, but I think because it was really the foundation of where I first ever like considered being an artist, really, because I was able to display my work there and able to, be an artist rather than just a viewer in terms of galleries and things like that. Yeah, it really
So
made it
where is
a
it?
reality
Which
for me.
school is it at? And is it
Oundle School.
Yaro? Ah,
Yarrow.
okay. At Oundle.
Yeah, Oundle, Oundle.
Let's see if we can find it and show everybody images. There we go. Wouldn't it be funny if there was a picture here of your work in it? Um, Let me share the screen because it's a beautiful building. Um, there we go.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
That's great, isn't it? Fantastic. Okay, so I'd like you to imagine that you're sitting, there's in this image here, there is a pop-up
Hmm.
cafe here. Okay.
Hmm.
And it's sunny. It's 6 p.m. on a June evening, and your work is inside here.
Hmm.
And you're having a break from telling everybody about how it works. Um, and there is a pop-up cafe here, and you're sitting there in the sunshine at 6 p.m. on a June evening, and there is a drink on the table next to you. What would we find there?
If it's warm enough, probably an Aperol spritz. If not,
Nice.
an espresso martini.
You can have both. Okay.
Amazing.
And there's a book on the table next to you. It could be your favorite book. It could be a book that's changed your life or been with you all your life, or it could be a recent discovery. What would we find there on the cafe table?
Um, I might have to go for two books again. Um, I think I would say probably Under a Dancing Star because that was my first ever favorite book because I used to be
Mm.
such a bookworm when I was younger. And I read that thing cover to cover, probably 8, 10 times, because I just loved it so much.
Hmm.
Um, and then the other one would probably be, in fact, I think I've got it. Yeah, I do. Um, this it's called All That Glitters. which you
Oh
may have
yeah.
actually read before.
Hmm.
It's about the fine art industry and the contemporary art market, basically.
Yeah.
It's actually written by my grandmother's godson.
Oh,
Um, but yeah, I've been reading it recently. I'm nearly finished, and it's really like opened my eyes to a lot of aspects of the art world that I had no idea existed. Probably naively, because obviously, I'm only 19. I haven't exactly spent a long time in it yet, but a lot of the sort of economic side and the slightly darker sides maybe that a lot of people don't know about.
mm.
Yeah, the art market. So it's a really, really
Well, you
interesting
can
book.
steer a very lovely course between all of that nonsense because, especially with your picture hook of doing commissions of synesthesia
Hmm.
portraits, I think you'll be fine. And despite your tender years, you've already achieved. I mean, there are members of our organization who would kill to sell 10 out of 11 pieces. So
Yeah, I
you
still can't really
deserve.
believe that happened, to be honest.
I know, but congratulations because that's a real milestone.
Thank
Zero
you.
to one is always the difficult bit, but doing 10 in a show out of 11 is extremely impressive. So well done.
Thank you.
Um, Excellent. Now you've got headphones on,
Hmm.
sitting at the table in the sunshine, the two books, typical, you
Hmm.
want two, and two drinks as well. This,
Hmm.
that probably the fact that you wanted two of each tells me more about you than the choices you made. But you can
Yeah, I
only
don't think I've
listen
ever made
to
a firm decision in my life.
you've got headphones on. Who are you listening to?
No, I can't.
Noah Khan.
Yeah, it's spelled Kahan.
Han. Excellent. Okay. So that would be enough. That's summed up you for us. That's Teddy, those
Yeah.
four things. However, there's more. Okay.
Hmm.
Because you've just come from a meeting with a wealthy, where's Oundle? What county is Oundle in?
Northamptonshire.
Yeah. So you've just come from a very wealthy Northamptonshire-based family foundation,
Hmm.
okay, who are very generous supporters of the arts. Okay.
Hmm.
They've they've attended your show inside there and they've come and found you at the cafe, the pop-up cafe afterwards.
Hmm.
And they've asked for a meeting with you because they'd like to hire you for a year. Okay.
Okay.
They would like you to travel the world and meet national leaders.
Hmm.
And in an effort to secure a rather more peaceful world, they'd like you to draw your synesthesia portraits of each of those national leaders.
Okay.
Okay. School have said you can do it. They're going to give you a year to do it.
Okay.
You get a PA to go with you. It's first class travel everywhere, wonderful accommodation. Friends and
Hmm.
family can come and visit you as you travel around the world doing this.
Hmm.
There is a book deal in it, and there is a TV crew following you to
Hmm.
do this. You get to do a TED talk when you get home, and you'll be one of the youngest people to do a full-on TED talk. Um, and after you've completed this, there will be a show in London of all of the work. That show is going to travel to all of the capital cities of the country's leaders who you've um,
Hmm.
met and done a portrait for.
Hmm.
You're on the morning television with Lorraine Kelly telling everybody about the trip. You're interviewed all over the place. You become the kind of art meets peace ambassador.
Okay.
And you get to do a global university lecture tour
Hmm.
afterwards as well. Does
Okay.
that sound like fun?
Yes. Yes, it does.
It's really going to kick off your career. Your
Hmm.
work is in such demand. Most of the national leaders buy the work from you,
Hmm.
despite you being paid to do the year as well. So it sets you up. You can get your own
Hmm.
studio, your own representation, and it just kicks off your career.
Hmm.
I wish I could do this for you for real.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah. So all you have to do is, and this is where you might have to think a bit more than other people have had to do so. If this is a
Hmm.
piece art tour, and if the work is then if you're going to capture the essence of people in your work
Hmm.
in a positive and peace-oriented way,
Hmm.
who do you want to do first?
Malala.
Malala.
Hmm.
Fantastic. They don't have to be national leaders. They can be national peace ambassadors like Malala. So
Yeah.
where's she based? Where is she now? She was in Afghanistan,
Oh,
wasn't she?
now I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know if she's gone back or if she's in the UK still.
Okay. Should we ask Chat?
I
Um,
hate ChatGPT with a passion.
oh, well, I'm not going to do it then. We'll assume she's gone home to Afghanistan. Okay.
Okay.
So you're on the plane. Okay.
Uh-huh.
You turned left when you got on the plane, and the steward brings you an Aperol Spritz and an espresso martini,
All
um,
together.
and a note, and turns his nose up at you, um, and a note from the Family Foundation. They've got a musical challenge for you. Okay.
Okay.
And this can't be Noah.
Okay.
They'd like you to limit your musical listening to one very specific genre or type of music for the whole 12 months, to the exclusion of all else. What are you going to
Okay.
pick?
See, that's really hard because I have quite a polarized like music taste because I love indie music and folk music, which is kind of what Noah Khan does, and
Hmm.
sort of Hosier and things like that. But then I also love like rock and metal kind of music. So I think picking between those two would be really, really hard. Um,
You're not having both again.
no, I know. I'm gonna try and choose. Um, I'd probably say sort of pop punk because I think that's a pretty good in between.
Okay.
That I could be happy listening to all the time because my
Who?
music listening is very mood specific. So,
Right. Who would be on your playlist then in that case?
uh, probably people like Linkin Park
Hmm.
and maybe I don't think Paris Paloma quite fits under that umbrella. Um,
That's fine. You can listen to Linkin
yeah,
Park
I
for
could
a
listen to
while.
Linkin Park forever, to be honest.
There we go. Fantastic. Now you arrive at where did we decide we were going? Uh,
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan. Right.
Not sure I'd go there by choice, but I'd go there to see Malala.
No, it's going to be safe. Okay.
Okay,
We're
okay,
going
good.
to Kabul to
Okay.
see Malala. And when you get there, she meets you with some other peace activists,
Hmm.
and they whisk you into a beautiful loft apartment overlooking the city. And they say, we're going to take you to a dance performance and then out to dinner. Okay.
Okay.
Dinner with Malala
Hmm.
and her friends. Now, this is where the time machine and the magic wand come in because you don't have to
Okay.
stay in Afghan culture for this. They're going to
Okay.
I can put on the stage in front of you any dance performance. It can be any
Okay.
dancer, living or not, any dance style, any dance group. And you can choose exactly. It just so happens that whoever you choose is there. Okay.
Okay.
So what kind of dance performance can I put on the stage in front of you?
Flamenco.
Wow. And then you get to paint it afterwards. Yeah,
Yeah, I would love to
fantastic.
paint a flamenco performance.
Oh, that would be really good. Excellent. Now, we're going to, so you've met Malala, you've spent time with her, and you do the piece,
Hmm.
and everybody loves it. You're moving on. Okay. Where are
Hmm.
we going next? Oh no, we haven't been out to
Uh,
dinner. We haven't been out to dinner. Sorry.
oh yeah, no, this is true.
Dinner in Afghanistan. Now there are restaurants of all nationalities in Kabul.
Okay,
What's your cuisine of choice?
Chinese food.
Chinese food. Love it. Excellent. Now we wave goodbye to Malala. We're off again. Where are we going next and who are we going to see?
See, that's a tough one because I'm not a big fan of many world leaders at the moment.
No, but you might be able
Um,
to influence them.
if I could totally influence their psyche and change their behavior, I'd go see Donald Trump.
Let's go and see Donald. Mar-a-Lago in Florida. His advisors have advised him that this is a good idea. Okay.
Okay.
because a talented artist from the UK is going to portray him in the best possible light.
Hmm.
I, I share your reservations, but he can't be all bad. Um, um, so we've got there. We get to Florida, and it's Sport Day in the United States.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and Donald Trump is going to take you to a sporting event. Okay.
Okay.
And he's brought along some peace activists as well. Okay,
Hmm.
young people your age who share your determination that this whole place can be better than it is,
Okay.
and that art is the way forward.
Hmm.
Um, they it's sport day, so they're going to take you to a sporting event. Now, you again, the magic wand and the time machine are at hand. You can have
Hmm.
anything. I can put anything in front of you. You can even take part.
Okay.
What sporting event would you like to watch or participate in?
If I'm gonna take part, then rounders, because I used to love that as a kid and I haven't played it in so long, and I used to be pretty good at it.
Yeah. Well, there's a double bill. There's a sort of invitation rounders um,
Hmm.
match followed by a baseball match. Okay.
Okay.
So you can play in the rounders one and then watch the baseball one,
Hmm.
sitting next to Donald Trump eating hot dogs or anything you else you like. Okay.
Okay.
Um, Fantastic. And you get to do, and you've painted Donald and everybody's happy. Now
Hmm.
you escape, and you can go somewhere else now. Where are you going now? And who are you going to do?
Go see Greta Thunberg, I think.
Greta. Yes, she's somewhere in Scandinavia, I imagine, at the
Yeah.
moment. Unless she's trying to, unless she's on a boat trying to get to Gaza.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bless her.
I
Bless her.
don't think she is at the moment.
No, I shouldn't think that she'd be allowed to at the moment.
Mm.
Okay, so I'm not sure where she lives. So let's just find out. Come on, I'm not using chat, I promise. Um, um, Sweden. She's in Sweden. So we'll go to Stockholm. Okay.
Hmm.
She meets you at the airport and she whisks you off to a brand new digitally enhanced art gallery.
Okay.
Okay. In which you can put on a pair of virtual reality glasses and step into the work of a famous artist. It
Okay.
it becomes 360 degrees. It's three-dimensional. There is movement and there is sound, and you can walk around in the painting. You can see in 3 dimensions what the artist could only show us in two.
Hmm.
Whose work would you like to step into?
Um, Probably V.
Yeah, I thought that was coming.
Yeah.
So let's show everybody the work. Hold on. This would be a one hell of a trip.
Yeah.
Um, there we go. You can walk around in there. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. There we go. You get to
Yeah.
explore that in 3 dimensions. Wonderful.
That sounds pretty amazing.
I'll quickly like that while we're there. Wonderful. Excellent. Now, I'm going to whisk you back to London.
Okay.
We're nearly there. And you and I are going out together every night of the week to do something cultural.
Okay.
On Monday night, we're going back in time to a pop or rock concert.
Okay.
Tuesday, we're going to a theatre play in London.
Hmm.
Might be Shakespeare.
Okay.
Could be Shakespeare. Wednesday is a West End or a Broadway musical. Don't know if you're a
Uh-huh.
musical fan.
Kind of.
Yeah. Thursday is opera or ballet, and Friday is movie night. Okay. And
Okay.
between us, we can decide what we go and see.
Okay.
Is there a concert that you've attended that you'd love to go back in time to enjoy again?
I've actually only been to three concerts in my life. Two of them were Noah Khan. So I'd say, oh, I think I'm gonna sneeze. No, it's gone away. It always goes away when you say that.
Yeah.
Um, um, Noah Khan, the first time I ever saw him was at the O2 in London. And I sobbed my way through the entire concert. So
Was
probably
it
that.
just overwhelmed? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm coming with you because I want to see him. So that's a great one. Um,
Okay.
is there somebody who currently you'd love to see and haven't yet?
What, concert wise?
Yeah.
Um, Loads. I wouldn't say any of them really stick out to me. To be fair, I did go to a music festival the second time I went to see Noah Khan, so I saw a lot of artists before that. So I saw like Paris Paloma, which was really amazing because I love her
Mm,
music. But off the top of my head, I can't really think of anybody else I
it's
desperately love to
okay.
see. No.
For our older members, I asked them if there's a concert that they could have gone to, didn't, and now can't.
Yeah.
You've only been to three, so you haven't had the life chances yet to do that. Mine was Bob Marley. I could have seen Bob Marley in 1979, and I didn't. There's another piece acting.
Gosh.
Can you imagine
Yeah.
that? I'd love to see your interpretation of Bob Marley.
I
It would have to be
think the
Red
first
Bull.
thing I'd say to him though would be to go to the doctor.
Go to the
Go to the doctor.
yeah, because he died 3 years later.
Yeah.
So shocking.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, where are we? Yes. So
I
now
mean,
that
I think if I could go back in time to a concert that I wasn't able to go to because I wasn't alive, I would want to see Fleetwood Mac.
yeah, I would. I could have done and didn't. You know,
Yeah.
it's well, it's such a shame. Every song's a
Mm.
banger.
Yeah.
Um, what about a theatre play? Now we can do Shakespeare's Globe if you wish, or we could go and see something else.
Probably any Tennessee Williams play.
Oh, Streetcar.
Yeah, I really like Streetcar. Um, or oh my gosh, there was another one that I really loved. I'm so bad with names when it comes to people and anything like movies and books.
Mhm.
But there was another one that I can't remember what it was called. But any Tennessee Williams play, to be honest,
Okay,
because I love them all.
brilliant. I love that. That's very impressive because most people ask me to choose at that point. What about a Broadway or a West End musical?
I think the only one I could actually name if I tried would be Cats, and I don't know if that even counts.
It
I
does
don't really
count.
know any other ones, to be honest.
Cats was great. I saw it back in the 80s
Mm,
first. That it was really groundbreaking at the time. And Starlight Express I saw, which I thought was fantastic.
mm.
Now, opera or ballet for Thursday? And are you a fan of either?
I've never seen a proper ballet, but I have been to the opera a couple of times, and that was really amazing. But I think probably because I've already been to the opera and I've never been to see a ballet, I'd probably rather go and see a ballet.
Fine. It's noisy. That's the one thing I remember. With their
Noisy I can do.
all their shoes on the yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go and see Matthew Bourne's Swan Lake, which is all male.
Mhm.
That would
Okay.
be unusual, but brilliant. Now, movie night, we're going to buzz to the Sphere in Las Vegas, which is that huge circular spherical movie theater. We've got the
Okay. I don't
place
think
to
I've ever seen
ourselves.
that.
I've got to show you. Uh, the Sphere Las Vegas. Let me show you. Um, it's
Oh wow.
yeah, this inside. It's just incredible. Look. This is the audience,
Oh wow, that's amazing.
and the screen is almost spherical. Look at that one as well.
Oh my gosh.
I know, isn't it incredible? That I think Backstreet Boys did a show there right on the stage, but the
Hmm.
images were all there. It's and they dress it outside with projections.
Hmm.
It's
Wow.
quite staggering. Yeah. So we're
Yeah.
there. Look, that's a good. So we're sitting. We've got the best seats in the house, probably here.
Uh-huh.
That's you there. There we go.
Okay.
What are we watching?
See, my favorite movie of all time is The Breakfast Club, but I don't know if that's I wouldn't want to wait. Well, not waste that experience, but I feel like that's the kind of like cinema where you want to watch something really visually incredible. So I would probably save it for something like Project Hail Mary or Passengers,
Oh yeah.
because I feel like experiencing a movie centered on outer space in a cinema like that would just be incredible.
It would be. I'm trying to remember the names. You'll probably remember them in Breakfast Club. Molly Ringwald, I
Oh, I
think.
don't know the actors' names. I've
Jen,
never.
Jen somebody. Yeah. No, that I love that as well. That was
Yeah.
groundbreaking at the time. Really quite
Mm,
spiky. It was fantastic.
yeah.
So long ago now as well that came out. Now we're nearly there.
Hmm.
I'm going to give you a hero lunch. Okay, Chinese
Okay.
restaurant in London, a
Yeah.
leisurely 2 hour lunch. You can invite
Hmm.
one person and you can
Hmm.
invite anyone you like, living or not, historical or current, famous or otherwise. Who would you invite for a leisurely 2 hour lunch?
Nelson Mandela.
Great choice. Fantastic choice. And in a slight twist to that question, who do
Hmm.
you think Nelson Mandela would invite?
Oh gosh, I have no idea. Probably if he knew her, probably somebody like Malala. I feel like.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think that would. Yeah, I think so. Either that or like his wife, maybe.
yes. Although she was a little bit of a controversial figure as well, wasn't she? There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. You've finished your fantasy cultural year with lunch with Nelson Mandela and Malala. You got two again. You just very clever, very clever. Teddy, thank you so much for doing this. It's been
Thank
good
you.
fun. I hope you've enjoyed your fantasy
Mm,
cultural year.
I
Wherever this
have.
wherever this appears, there'll be examples of your work and a
Mhm,
profile about you, and we'll make sure that as many as possible get to see that. And thanks again for being one of our full members. It's very much
mm.
appreciated. Um, Please don't rush off, but for the time being, thank you again.
Thank
Have
you.
you enjoyed your fantasy cultural year?
Yeah, I have. That was really fun. Not questions I ever thought I'd be asked. So.
No, it's our odd way of doing interviews, but that was
Mhm.
great. Thank you so much.